Hi, this is Jim Moyna with Moyna's Bass Fishes, and this is my recap of the 2023 Toyota Series Tournament on Lake Dardenelle. So I finished 59th place out of, I think it was about 160 anglers. It's not was not a money finish. They paid top 40, so it was kind of a disappointing tournament overall. Hindsight's always much more clear than foresight, as we all know. And in hindsight, there are a few things I wish I would have done different. And some of it's maybe discipline oriented. Uh, I had, if you follow this tournament at all, some of my other reports, you know that I practiced, I think it was 6 days for this tournament, which is a longer practice period than what I normally experience, because with these Toyota tournaments, there is no off limits. There's no, you can practice as much as you like. So I set aside 6 days with the intent to basically spend the first 3 days just running around the lake and just checking for just checking out the lake, what different conditions are, what bays look like, what's the water clarities in certain sections, how to get back, maybe research how to get back into sneaky type places. And so that was kind of my plan, and then spend the remaining 3 days actually revisiting the places that I found had the right ingredients for what this tournament was going to play out as. And for me, I wanted this tournament to play out as a pre-spawn spawn type tournament, which is what it was. Which, which in a lake like this, Lake Dardenelle, they call it Lake Dardenelle. It's got a dam on both ends. It's on the Arkansas River, which it really doesn't fish any different than, say, the upper Mississippi River. A lot of the same ingredients are in play for what you're looking for at this part of the season. So basically, what I wanted to make note of in practice was these are the ingredients. I want to look for warmer water, no current, and clear water, and then and I wanted some depth if possible. It's not necessary though, but then I wanted some kind of spawning substrate with cover. So those were the ingredients. And instead of taking those first 3 days and checking out all the backwaters that I could in 3 days and ignoring the fishing aspect of it, I got away from that right away on day one. What I did was I just started fishing, and I fished and fished and fished, and then I just continued with that throughout practice. I go into an area and just fish, and then go nuts. So I ended up not covering as much of this lake as I wanted to, and as a result, I missed out on some of the best areas of the lake. I mean, granted, some of the places I did check, there was fish to be caught, but some of the prime areas of the lake just totally I missed out on. I've only been to this lake one other time many years ago, and I think that was like late summer, perhaps sometime in the summer or maybe early fall. But so none of that stuff really applied for what I was looking for in this one. So I don't know. So I'm a little disappointed in my discipline with the initial game plan, because my initial game plan was sound. It would have got me to the places that I needed to be in this tournament, instead of just marginal places. Or there were some places I fished were somewhat decent, but anyways, that discipline did not pay out so well. So anyways, on day one, I only caught 5 keepers. That was it. And I was in 89th place after day one. It was a day where I caught 5 my 5 keepers all came on 5 different rods and setups. So it was that. I mean, I caught one on a crankbait off of some riprap. I caught one on a weightless Senko off of some really shallow riprap, basically in a spawning cove, but with dirty water. There wasn't as many fish in that spawning cove as I was hoping, because in practice I ran into 3 fish in that spawning cove, and I ended up weighing 2, but it took me 3 hours to catch those 2 fish out of there before I finally left. But anyways, that weightless Senko on that one. In that same spawning cove, the other fish I caught was on a Texas rig worm, just flipping some of that viney cover they got here. And so that's 3 of them. And then I caught one on a Nico rigged worm off of some riprap, and then I caught another one on a 2.8 Kitech off of some riprap. So the riprap is a player at this place. It's there's a lot of riprap in this lake, so that is a place where you can go and catch some fish at times, which in this tournament that was the case as well. So, but I don't know how the leaders today's day 3, top 25 are out fishing right now, so I don't know what they're gonna say when they come in and reveal whatever parts of their patterns and techniques that they are going to reveal. I'll guarantee you some of them will talk about spawning backwaters. So there might be some that talk about riprap. To me, those were the 2 main players. So anyhow, so that's how I caught my 5 that first day, and I was kind of disappointed that I didn't place higher with the 5 fish for 10 pounds that I had, because everything you heard was how tough this place was fishing, but really didn't fish that tough the first day at all. We had cloudy weather. It was, the big storms were coming in the next day, but we had cloudy weather, and it was just kind of muggy and warm, and you just knew the fish were biting. So, and the weigh-in showed that. The next day, on day 2, we had weather. We had some kind of severe weather come through. I know some guys got hailed on, and it came through early. We actually had a 1 hour delay. There were 2 squalls that came through. One came through literally I don't know, 20 minutes before takeoff. So they actually delayed takeoff an hour till 8 o'clock. And but there was still another squall coming, which turned out to be the worst of the 2 when that one came. And so we took off, and at 8, and some guys ended up guys that went far west up the river, some of those guys actually didn't even get to their to their fishing areas until, before that squall hit them. So I got to my first area and fished for about 10 or 15 minutes. My coingler caught one off of some riprap, and I didn't. But then that second squall hit us, and it shut us down for like a half hour. And the wind came up so bad, I was stuck where I was, absolutely stuck. Well, we took cover for a while with all the lightning bouncing all over the place, and but even then, after that, I just felt trapped. I kind of had the urge to go run way up the river, but it was so freaking windy. The waves were going to be monstrous. It was going to be a rough ride. So instead, I hung down on the lower lake and just wasted time. And this is in the hindsight, hindsight can tell. I just kept hoping I could just stumble into something, make something happen without having to make a rough boat ride. But as it turns out, all the stuff I was doing on the lower end of the lake wasn't working. I was running into a lot of other boats. The areas I was looking at were lots of fishing pressure. So I said, I don't care how windy it is. This ain't working here on the south lower end. I'm gonna make the rough ride and just see what I can make happen on some of my stuff way up the river. So I got up there, and once you know it, there was a guy. I mean, I didn't hardly see a boat the whole time running up there because you're on the main river and everybody's fishing off in the protected backwaters. So when I finally got up there, ran up into the backwater I wanted to check, and turned the corner, and sure enough, there's a boat sitting square dead on where I need to be. So, but it might have turned out to be a blessing because, in a way, and let me just back up. That was probably the biggest mistake I made of the second day. Biggest mistake of the tournament probably was waiting too long to run upriver. Just trying to make it happen on the south end, where I only had 5 bites the first day, and they weren't even that big. Just waiting too long to make that run up the river. I could have gone up there an hour and a half earlier probably. And the reason why I say that, because when I did get upriver, I caught 4 fish, and that's all they weighed in. So another hour and a half up there, I might have been able to get a couple more bites. Who knows? Maybe not. But anyways, back up to speed. I got up to the area up there, and the boat was sitting dead square on the nuts. But I'd caught a few stragglers in that area here and there, so I just started fishing the straggler water, and ended up catching 3 fish, including one about 3 pounds. Meanwhile, that boat left while I was doing, fishing that. So, and he left probably. I probably spent nearly an hour fishing the straggler water, and he left about 30 minutes into it. But eventually, so then came time to where, okay, I'm gonna go into the prime juice, get over there. I'm not catching nothing, casting in some good water, not catching nothing. So now I'm thinking, well, how many guys have been beaten on this, or how badly did this guy wear it out? And then I see this lights. It's a little more clear water. Most of this lake's pretty muddy, especially the main river is really muddy, and the backwater is very. And this particular backwater that I found in practice had a little bit clearer water. I found it in late afternoon overcast conditions. I didn't realize you could actually see bottom with a little bit better light, because by now the squalls were gone and it was starting to clear off, okay? So I see this light spot, and I throw over there, and at one point I swear I saw just a shadow of something, but I wasn't sure if that was just a ripple effect or just the reflection effect. So eventually, I didn't get a bite there. So eventually but I'm curious, so I ease my trolling motor over there, and then sure enough, I see really nice fish sitting there. I was like, whoa, drop the power poles right then and there. And this fish is not too bothered by me. And it's a good fish. It's bigger than my 3-pounder I got in the live well. So I'm guessing it's like about 3.5 to 4 pounders is what I'm guessing. And so I start fishing it. I'm pitching various baits in there, and I'm not getting much of a response. He's not really giving a crap about any of this stuff. But then again, this fish is, he's not overly concerned about my boat and my presence. He wanders off the nest every once in a great while, but he's staying, for the most part, within 5 feet of the nest most of the time. And then like 75% of the time, he's staying like in one. He's not going any farther than 2 feet from one particular spot. So, and what that tells an experienced angler who bed fishes, that there's a good probability that this fish can be caught somehow. You can be wrong, and you can burn a lot of time on a fish you just can't get the bite. So, and then it started to appear that this was going to be the case with this fish, because I was not getting him to do much. Eventually I got him to like just cough at the bait, kind of, and I'd get him to do it again, 5-10 minutes later, I get him to do it again. But the whole time I'm cycling through different presentations, different baits, colors, this and that, and just not getting this fish to fire on anything. I can't get him to take the bait in at all. A couple times I think he's gets a little pissed at it. Other times he's just completely indifferent to what I'm throwing in there. It gets to be a point where I'm an hour and a half into it, and then and every fish is different. One fish will take a craw, another one will take a fluke, another one will take a big bait and a big lizard, another will take a little bait. So this particular fish, when I went to let me get it out right now. Okay, we're not gonna. All right, whatever. Here, I'll just grab this. This is bait right here. It's just a different color. So when I put this bait on in a watermelon red, this is the Billy Rub Baits Tricky D. When I put this bait on, stuff started happening with this fish. I mean, his interest escalated. I noticed a heightened sense of anxiety by this fish of this bait being in his bed. So that gave me hope, and then he actually started eating it a couple times. He'd take it. Now I do not have great vision on this fish. Okay, I can see the shadow of it. Sometimes he fades out where I can't see him. I'm like, where is he? And then the shadow comes back in. But so it's hard to tell exactly what he's doing with the bait and how he's responding to it. But I can see this heightened sense of anxiety and awareness that this fish has towards his bait and attention. He's got elevated attention, and he actually sucked it in a couple times. But before I could set the hook, he blow it out. So I'm like, this is like an hour and a half into it, okay, of trying all these other, at least 20 other presentations. So eventually he takes it in, and I do a hook set on him. I know he took it in, don't know if he's blown it out, do a hook set on him, and I hastily tied up this rig, right there, and I set the hook. It's 8-pound test on this rig, and I broke the line. Really easy. So it was obvious bad knot tie is what it was. I tied the improved clinch knot, or the trilene knot they call it. It's a great knot. However, if you cinch it the wrong way, you can drastically hurt its strength if you cinch it up the wrong way. And I think with most knots, if you kind of bucker it up a little bit, you're going to weaken the knot's going to be weaker than what it normally could be. So in the haste of this, I didn't tie a good knot. I didn't test it. I always test my knots. Like, I give them one of these, and I didn't do it with this one. It was just, wasn't patient. It comes down to patience and detail. You can't overlook the little details because they make a difference. So the line broke. And you can't believe how disgusted I am with myself after finally figuring out a way to trick this fish into getting to eat the bait, spending all that time on him, and then I do that. So I was just absolutely disgusted with myself. So I sit down and I'm like, okay, I'm going to rig this rig up on a different rod with some heavier line, which I almost did. I almost did that. But I didn't. I rigged it up on went with the lighter line and screwed it up. So anyways, while I'm rigging this up, and this is typical, my co-angler tells me, oh, I think the fish has moved back over there on the bed, which is very typical. With fish that you break off, or even if you catch them and release them, they'll go back over their bed. But when they do, their mood is completely off for a while. And that's what I didn't know. I didn't know if this fish was going to be catchable again. I mean, it took me forever, an hour and a half to get him to bite it the first time. So what kind of investment in time am I going to have to put into this fish to get him to bite again, if he's going to bite again? So, but I'm not going to give up on him, because literally he's like a 4-pounder. But it's getting later. It's like 1:30 at this time. I got 4:15 check-in. So, as it turns out, so I'm rig up the same thing, same worm, and I start throwing it in there again. And he's not interested. He's not showing much of anything. So 10 minutes go by. Then it gets to be about 15 minutes. And then, and I'm getting ready to just give up on this fish. Meanwhile, there's been a couple other competitors that have swung by. You know, this is through this course of an hour and a half, that they must have known that fish was there. And they couldn't catch it either, because they'd swing by, stop, turn around, take off. So it's very possible these other competitors knew of this fish and were coming to catch it, or try to. So anyways, back up to speed. After about 10-15 minutes of working this fish again with the same bait, I see something in the fish that tells me that he's starting to shake off this experience of having a hook set on from earlier, and he's resuming a more comfortable nature. And he's been kind of locked into the bed this whole time. And he's starting to lose his fear. He's starting to lose his concern about the situation of him eating that bait and having a hook set on him. And I'm starting to see him respond to this tricky D bait. And he's responding to it. And he eats it again. Like after 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes of me pestering him with this bait, he eats it. I set the hook, I play him to the boat, get him in the net, unhook him. Hook's in the mouth. Not by much. He didn't eat it by much. He literally, the hook was like in the mouth by about a half inch. So, but indeed, it was definitely a mouth catch. Put him alive. Well, it's my fourth fish. So now I got a 4-pounder, 3-pounder, and two 2-pounders. So I'm pretty excited. And by now, and I probably got like an hour left to fish. And I still have some prime area here of the juice. And I end up catching, Collier and I catch a couple of shorts. I see a couple of fish spook off, like really jittery type fish. Just, I mean, there ain't no way I'm catching them. But I couldn't catch any more out of there. So then it came down where I had about 20 minutes left to fish. So I'd moved areas, went over to the southern area, and this was a bad decision because the southern area the wind had been blowing on it, muddied it up, fished it anyways because I was almost out of time. Couldn't really move anywhere else. Couldn't come up with another bite. Ran back to the weigh-in with my 4 fish. Fished for 5 minutes back by weigh-in, nothing. Weighed in 4 fish for 10-13. It was, I just had a lot of mistakes that second day. The first day it wasn't too much. I mean, even though I didn't have a good weight, with what I knew going into that day, I felt like I played the day okay, technique-wise. Just mastery of technique in that was fine. It just didn't pay off. The second day, just decisions, just bad decisions. The the decision not to deal with the rough water and run up there earlier, that was a bad decision. The the lack of patience in tying up that rig and breaking it off, that was a bad decision. And then killing that last 20 minutes by not considering the mud that the area might have muddied up with the high winds. So in some ways I sabotaged my performance yesterday. I missed the money by 2.5 pounds. One 2.5 pounder would have got me a check yesterday. So anyhow, so that's the tale of the fishing. A couple other things of note. I don't think there was a lot of fish spawning when I first started practicing. There was a spinnerbait bite to be had. That spinnerbait bite, I couldn't get a spinnerbait, catch fish on a spinnerbait the last 2 days of practice or in the tournament. So the spinnerbait bite just disappeared for me. Maybe other people found differently, but for me, I couldn't do it. Same with the crankbait bite. That seemed to kind of fade out, even though I weighed one on the first day of the tournament. Thank goodness. On a crankbait, I never threw that color. I just tied it up, and it worked. On one fish, anyways. All right, so that is the tale. I don't know where I'm going to be in the points for this division with a 59th place, and God, what was my other finish? Like 89th? I got to be in the top 25. And the way this works, not everybody fishes every tournament in these divisions, so I'll probably be like 45th, I'm guessing, but I'll do a video on that. But the goal is to be in the top 25 to make the Toyota Series Championship. Yeah, and that's going to be a very tough goal to achieve in this division. I'm probably going to have to pick up another division, pick up some other tournaments, maybe a wild card, maybe get in through the wild card entry. This did not turn out that great here. Not what I needed, especially after the first Toyota tournament where that was an 89, I think it was like 89th finish. So anyways, that's my story here at Lake Dardenelle in the 2023 Toyota Series Tournament. Thanks for watching, and hopefully the next one's better. Over.